Soul, the podcast that explores the heart and soul of the real estate industry. I'm your host, Colin Nathan Alim, the real estate boy, and together we're going to take a dive into the stories and experiences of professionals who are dedicated to serving underserved communities in the real estate industry. So, whether you're a real estate professional, a home buyer, or simply interested in a real estate industry, this podcast is for you. So, join us as we dive into the world of real estate with soul. Now, today is Philadelphia Market Review Day. All right. Um, as everybody kind of knows out there, the Philadelphia market, um, the statistics lag. So they lag a month behind. So every month we take a time out to look at what the market has done. And today I have an esteemed guest, my brother, Lester Brown, man. How's it going, Les?
Oh man, what's going on? Thanks for having me on again. Everything is well, man. Everything's well. How's everything with you?
Good, good, man. Well, Les is a mortgage officer, and I'm a real estate agent. So we want to kind of tag team as far as what's going on in the market, man. But how was your week, man? As far as real estate goes, how was your week? How did everything play out?
Man, just trying to get my clients moving forward, keeping their files alive. It's I say the file really doesn't start until it hits underwriting. So we just had a couple hit underwriting. So you get the condition sheets back and you're making sure that everything is kind of rocking and rolling. So just want to keep everything kind of moving forward so we can get these clients closed out and in their homes.
Right now, what are you seeing as far as I know everybody's talking about the interest rates, and that's what they've been talking about since they kind of rolled up this past year or two. But
hmm
what are you guys looking at as far as interest rates go?
I mean, I've seen rates. They're kind of they're stabling out a little bit as far as what I'm seeing. I actually had a client who went under contract last week, and I floated her rate until this week, and it was a little bit lower this week compared to last week. So it is definitely a week to week, day by day thing. You go in there and you check the rates for your clients, but um, I am starting to see it, stable out a little bit. But the Fed did make an announcement. I think they said they were going to halt, and rising the rates, so that could, ease everything a little bit. So it does give buyers a little bit of more confidence when they know the rates aren't going to be rising at the Fed level. But it still is a day by day thing when we're looking at those rates individually.
Now, what type of mentality do the buyers have out there now, or that you've
Yep.
seen?
Yeah, I mean, people are still. I think people are still in this mindset of they're trying to wait for prices to come down.
Right.
The only problem is the inventory is not really enough to drive the prices down. So we don't really have, as we'll see when we get into the slides, like we don't have enough inventory to drive the pricing down. So you have, low inventory, high interest rates. People are just like on the fence, like they waiting for one to give. Maybe the rates go down, maybe the pricing go down, but it doesn't look like either one of those are going to go down fast enough to get a whole bunch of people motivated to jump into the market.
Right. And I had a buyer who was asking me, she said, "Hey, listen, I want to buy a home, but do you think I should wait?" And my answer was like, "Hey, wait, but you may negate the meaning, the benefit of waiting. Because what if you wait, and let's just say for argument's sake, prices do go down, but then what if interest rates go up? And now your purchasing power has gone down. So you're really speculating, is what you are, and you're timing the
hmm
market. And the thing about it is, timing the market usually never works. Okay, sure, I'm sure there's a grandpa or uncle out there was like, "Hey, yeah, I bought right at 2017 or 2018." I'm sure they're out there, but for the most part, if you wait, and what I've seen is that if you wait, then when you do buy, however it's structured, whether the house is more expensive or the interest rate is higher, you're usually on the bottom end. And it really depends if we're talking about a first time home buyer or we're talking about an investor. Because if you're a first time home buyer, I always tell you, you really shouldn't, not you shouldn't be looking at the rate, but that might not be the most important. Because
Right.
as you and I
Right.
know, people are buying a home usually because of a life event. Something's happening.
Mhm.
Maybe you had a baby, or you're upsizing, or you're downsizing, or something like that. So if that's the case, yeah, you should look at the rate and you should calculate everything. What you should do
For sure.
is look at the monthly costs, and then look at the houses that you can afford with that monthly cost, and see if those two things go together. If they don't go together, meaning that you can't afford what you're comfortable with, then maybe you should wait. But if you can afford a certain amount and you find a home or a neighborhood that can support that amount, then you should probably proceed and stop renting and buying, man. What you think about that?
I agree 100%. For a couple different reasons. Like you said, if you like you may get a lower interest rate and you may pay a higher amount, then the values can drop. So you can lose out there. Or you can get stay at a higher interest rate and then the housing, keeps going up. So you can win on either side. So like you say, you're timing the market. So you really have to make a decision of the purchase and does it make sense with the the purchase that you're trying to make. So if like you said, the event that you're having, does it make sense financially to move forward right now? Does the payment make sense? Like
Right.
if the rate is, let's say the rate is 6.5, and you first of all, there's a couple things you can do. The rate is 6.5, you can probably buy it down to get a lower rate,
Mhm.
if you want to put a little bit of extra money down. Or you can say it's 6.5 now. Let's say in a year from now it goes down to 5.5. Now you can look at doing, rate and term refinance. So then now you're still building the equity, and then you can work on getting that rate lower for the remainder of the life of the loan. But to me, not to move when the price does make sense, or the monthly payment does make sense for you, and you don't pull the trigger for whatever other reason. I think that's being I don't think that's wise, because you're not getting the equity build up that you would, and reducing your
Right.
principal amount with every monthly payment that you get. And then you're as another payment that you're giving to your landlord for him or her to do whatever they're going to do with that money. So if the payment makes sense, the property is something that you like, I say, pull the trigger, and we can worry about the rate and all that other stuff on the back end or at another time.
No, man, totally agree. As far as areas, we got Philadelphia because we're kind of in a tri-state area. So we got Philadelphia,
Hmm.
we got Delaware. We also have the counties. I mean, what type of demand have you seen, or what's the difference in demand that you've seen between these kind of three areas?
Yeah, Philly is by far, I would say, that the most sought out area. Um, I don't I don't know why it's the most sought out area. I could say I think it's because of just it's Philly, you know what I mean? You're going to be, depending on where you are, you're going to be kind of close to the action. But also when you're in the counties, you're looking at, taxes that are upwards 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10,000 per year for taxes. So that kind of kicks a lot of people away from the county, because those taxes can add a extra, two, 300, 400 to your payment. So it I think that leans itself to push people to Philadelphia a little bit more. I also see a lot more rehabs happening in Philadelphia than you do in the county. Like for some reason, the county houses I see usually are like, grandma and grandpa moving out,
Right.
and they still got the same stuff that they had in there for, since they did their last, remodel. So it's like
Right.
people want shiny new stuff, and Philly is definitely going to give you the shiny new rehab property, if more than anywhere else, for sure.
No, I totally agree, man. When you're looking at Delaware, when you're looking at Delaware County or Montgomery County, um, the houses there themselves, what I've been seeing is that they've been staying on the market less than a Philadelphia home.
Hmm.
Some of these Philadelphia homes will sit. It depends on how they're priced, but they'll sit a little bit longer. I mean, one hot area in Upper Darby, not Upper Darby, in Delaware County is like Drexel Hill. which is
Great area.
under Upper Darby Township, but
Mhm.
it's right next to Upper Darby City. Um, but houses on, I mean, they're staying like 2 or 3 days, and it's like people are the demand for homes in the counties. I think, what I've seen is more than Philadelphia because some of these
Okay.
houses, but Philadelphia has more homes for sale. It's a
Yeah.
bigger city
Mhm.
than some of these counties, but you do have a lot of people who are trying to move out of Philadelphia um, to the county, but there's still Philadelphia doesn't have a lot of space for new construction, but like you said, there's a lot of rehab going on. So you got a lot of people
Mhm.
going in there fixing up homes and you know what I mean, trying to get I just had an investor call me trying to get any Philadelphia. Listen, anything between like 50 and $20,000 in Philadelphia, let me know. So I think
Mhm.
people still have their eyes on Philadelphia to in invest in, man. What you think about that?
Absolutely. And just like you said, you're going to be able to find. It's getting harder and harder to find those, rock bottom deals, but you can definitely find the lower end deals where in the county you're probably going to be paying top dollar, even if it's not a rehab property, just because of the location and it's deemed, safer or better schools or whatever. So Philly is definitely a great opportunity to invest and kind of get in there if you can find, one of those diamonds in the rough and kind of, rehab it, make it one of the nice houses on the block, and then wait for the block to kind of catch up and work from there.
Right. Not to change this, switch the subject a little bit, but down payment assistance programs. I guess what right now, what do you think the top down payment assistance program is? Now, I know all down assistant payment programs are different. All
Mhm.
the assistant programs are different and have different needs. But I guess which one have you been using the most at this time?
Yeah, so I'm definitely Philly first. Like two people going
Mhm.
through Philly first right now. I try to tell people like you just want to make sure if you're doing any of these down payment assistance programs, you want to find one that's going to either be reduced over a certain period of time,
Mhm.
eliminated after a certain period of time. You want to make sure it's an actual grant versus something that has to be paid back, when you sell the property or refinance the property, because what that does is it eats into your loan to value. So it actually eats up your equity in that down payment assistance. So where someone who's coming in putting in 20% down, they walk into insta equity, you kind of walk into negative equity because you may have bought the
Mhm.
house for 200,000, you got a $10,000 grant, so now you're actually at 210,000, and the house is only worth 200,000.
Right.
So I tell my clients, make sure I try to work with programs that are gonna, if it's gonna forgiven at some point or over a period of time or over 15 years or whatever, um, because it just puts us, and it looks like we're the predominant people that are using these down payment assistance programs. It puts
Right.
us at a disadvantage because we're eating up our equity on the front end because we don't have the savings muscle that other entities or other nationalities have.
And it's funny because most of the down payment assistance programs in Philadelphia are forgiven at some point in time. You got the
Hmm.
K-FIT at the state level. But if you go to the county, Chester County, Bucks County,
Yep.
they have grants, but you got to pay them back.
Got to pay them back. Hmm.
And I always trip about that because it's like, no, we want our money back.
Yep.
Um, and it's like they don't let you
And
get away with nothing.
yeah, and I kind of like I try not to look too deep into stuff outside of what's on the surface, but you
Right.
look at how certain things are structured, it's like, are we trying to like keep certain people out or make it kind of difficult for certain people to come into these counties because we know they
Right.
don't have the money and we're going to
Right.
keep them hamstrung by making them have to pay this money back. Whereas Philly, they're like, yo, come come through, get your bread, and
Right. Right.
after a while, it's good to go. So I I don't want to be that guy, but I do try to look at things from outside of just what they're showing us on the on the sheet that they give us.
Right, that's too funny, man. Well, let's jump into these stats, man.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
see what Philly did during this first quarter. So first we'll talk about this median sales price, and this is of April of 2023. So from last year, April 2022 to April 2023, the median sales price in the Philadelphia metro area actually jumped 1.2% to
Hmm.
$329,000, man. So for sellers out there, they still getting the same money that they was a year ago, and this
A little
I
bit
think this
more.
just a little bit more, right, right.
Hmm.
And this just shows the resilience of the Philadelphia market, man. What you think about that stat?
Yo, and it lends to what I was saying about the prices not going down because there just isn't enough inventory. So like if you're listing your house right now, you're probably one of thousands in a city with hundreds of thousands of possible listings. So it's like you're basically a needle in a haystack if you're listing your property right now. Where a couple years ago you listed your property, it may have been four people on your block that's listing their property. So you
Right.
didn't have as much um, demand. The demand is so high right now that those prices are going to continue to skyrocket. They're going up slowly, but they're going to continue to go up until more people jump in the market, um, and start listing their homes. So I don't know what the answer is to get people to list their homes. Like I don't know if there's like incentives we can give or what we can do, but definitely need more people out there listing their homes so that we can get those prices down a little bit.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough, man, because you got people out there who have the 2%, 3% interest rates. And
Yep.
it's just like, hey, it got to be a super sweet deal in
Right.
order for me to
Right.
sell my home that I got a
Hmm.
3% interest rate on.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Get a 6% rate, and then I got to give my money back on the purchase that I just made on the sale because now the prices are are higher. So
Right.
I can see where sellers are coming from, and it definitely is like it almost made like a perfect storm where rates are almost too good, and now people aren't trying to give up that 2.5% interest rate to jump into a 6.5 interest rate, and I
Mhm.
honestly don't blame them.
Right. No, me either. I would do the same thing. I mean, I have a couple properties where it's just like, I could cash in,
Hmm.
but it's just like, oh man, I got a 15-year at
Yeah.
2.65.
Yeah.
Like, that makes
Hmm.
no sense. I can
No
cash
sense.
in,
Yeah.
but it's
Mhm.
like, no, not at all. And I mean, that jumps us to our next statistic, which is new listings. From last year to this year was down over 33%.
Yep.
So last year, as far as new listings coming on the market, it was 33%. That's more than a quarter. More
Mhm.
listings, new listings was coming on the market than now, man. What you think about that?
Yeah, man. I mean, these stats actually probably tie into themselves more than any other stat, because as you see new listings go down, you see the home prices continue to go up. That's simple economics, supply and demand. So the demand is so high and the supply is so few that you're just going to see those prices. That's another reason why I say it's now is the time to purchase because it's not going to be. I don't think we're going to see a wave of people jumping up to sell their properties because it just financially doesn't make sense for them. So the prices are going to continue to rise. So I would want to be on the side of purchasing now. The interest rate may be a little bit higher, but I can continue to ride that wave of pricing going up versus trying to wait. Now I'm buying at the top of the market and I have less buying power. So yeah, these stats definitely go hand in hand when I'm looking at them.
Now, if you jump to showings, because this is really the demand right here as far as the showings, how many people are
Hmm.
going on showings, and you can see that's down about a quarter from last year, which means that activity just in general, as far as people going out and seeing homes, is down a quarter from last year. So it's kind of like even though you have the supply and demand curve, the supply is down and the demand is down too, but the supply is down a lot more than what the demand is, which is
Yeah,
kind of crazy. But what you think about that? Showings.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think what it shows is that people are not. They're not even on the fence. Like they in the crib. Like, like yo, I'm not. Because what I think is happening, I think. I think now with the internet, like people just online and it's like, yo, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Like everything I like, I can't afford it. Why would I go look at it if I can't afford it? Or you got a pre-approval letter, you got pre-approved for 200 and we see the median
Right,
price is 329. I can't afford it. So why would I go to a showing when
right,
it's nothing in my price range? So I think that's what's really happening. I think between either their pre-approvals aren't hitting that median sales price and they got to re-strategize, maybe bring in a co-borrower, maybe reduce their debt a little bit, whatever their plan is to kind of get up to that number. Or is people on the internet just looking like, yo, man, I'm it's 15 people might, bid on this. Cause that's
right,
also a fear that people have. Like, I don't want to be in a bidding war. So
right.
I'm just gonna stay at home and kind of wait for things to die down. So it's definitely interesting to see those numbers that showings are way down over for from last year. That's crazy.
And so that means that those of you who are afraid of a bidding war, and you shouldn't be afraid of a bidding war. If you're working with a skilled realtor, they should have some type of strategy for that type of situation. So it's not something to be afraid of, but but you're less likely to get into a bidding war now because the showings are down almost a quarter from last year. So there should
Mhm.
be less people out there in the market, but it may not look like that because there's no homes out right now. So less sellers are out there putting their homes on the market, which jumps to the next stat, months of supply. Now, what this stat right here means is that if we were to buy all of the homes that are on the market right now, how long would it take? So a normal market, which is a balanced market between buyers and sellers, it's a 6 months or 7 months. So it would take 6 or 7 months to buy up all the inventory. For months on supply in Philadelphia is 1.42 last month, which is up 32% from last year. So we're doing better than last year. But if we were to buy all the homes in Philadelphia, it would take us less than a month and a half. And it should a healthy market is 6 months or 7 months. So that shows you the dearth of inventory that we have in Philadelphia. And the thing about Philly is that we don't have a lot of new construction because that's one way to kind of get this number up. That's one way to push the inventory up is from builders building more homes. But Philadelphia, we don't have a lot of space. So what you're finding is people have to take blighted homes, and man, if there's one thing Philly got is blighted homes.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
plethora.
but if you take those blighted homes and fix those up, then this number goes up, man. I just think that um sometimes city council and I mean just the government, I think they hold the mom and pop investors back by some of the things that they're doing according also with L&I, and you got to get a permit for everything, and you got to go down to the municipal building for and man, going there, going to that building, you just like, listen, I don't know where the hassle's going to come from, but I'm gonna get a
It's coming.
hassle some way. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like if we're looking to streamline things, if we're looking to make Philadelphia more investment friendly, which we need to get this months of supply up, they can definitely do a better job of helping folks out. I don't want to go on a tangent, man, but what you think about this number right here?
Yeah. So for me, the months of supply, and I put a post up about there. It's a war being waged on your ability to purchase a property. And this number lends itself directly to that because it's going to come to a point where there just aren't going to be any houses for you to buy. You're going to have to rent. And I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to look too deep, and I don't want to say city council is, doing this for a reason to kind of hamstring people to make sure that they can't get the housing that they need. But there is definitely a war being waged on home ownership itself behind the scenes, where they really want to make this world a world of renters.
Oh, wow.
And it seems like a lot of people are happy being renters, and stuff like this doesn't phase them. But a number like this would make me be like, dang, yo, let me go out here and try to find something before I don't even have the ability to buy
Right,
something, because there literally won't be anything left to purchase. So you have big investors coming in, swooping in, grabbing homes, and they're not selling them. They're renting them out. They're not even thinking about reselling them. They're not flipping.
right,
They're just renting them. So
right.
from that perspective, like we have to start looking at things on a different level and saying, how is this happening, and what can I do to kind of get a piece of this pie before this pie is no longer even a pie anymore? It's just crumbs.
No, man, totally agree. Totally agree because they saying up there, if you make everybody investors, I mean, there's a lot of things that go with having your own home.
Hmm.
And number one is probably control. Um, if
Hmm.
you're a if you're a renter, then you really don't have control a lot of times over your space. Rent is gonna, for the most part, always go up. And
Hmm.
then if you can't pay that rent, I mean, what kind of happens to you? So it's um
Hmm.
it's a crazy situation, and there are situations where a person should be renting. I mean, it's small, but for the most part, if you can afford to buy something, even if you still rent,
Hmm.
try to make sure that you buy something. And I mean,
Yeah.
that jumps us over to the median days on the market. The median days of market that a home's been on the market in Philadelphia is 11 days um, in April, which is up 3 days. So what that means is last year, homes were on April of 2022, homes were only staying on the market for 8 days. Now it's up to 11 days, which means that they're sitting for a little bit longer. So even though you're still getting the prices that you did back last year in 2002, now the homes are sitting a little bit longer. Man, what you think about that stat?
Hmm. Yeah, that is one that I actually did not know, because I have buyers out shopping in Philadelphia all the time, and it seems like they're getting beat out. So it's like it's interesting that these houses are on the market for, I mean, 11 days isn't a lot
Right,
by any stretch of the imagination. Like, you put your joint up today, and in damn near 2 weeks you under contract. That's actually still pretty good. But
right.
I definitely thought they were moving faster. So the fact that they're on the market for 3 more days than they were this time last year, that definitely speaks to the number of people who are actually out buying and trying to kind of view these properties and get out and take a look and see what, kick the tires and see what's going on with these different properties that are up for sale.
And it's April. It's April. It's the beginning. No, I'm sorry. It's May now. It's May. So
Hmm.
now we're kind of in a full swing spring season. And
Hmm.
normally during spring season, in real estate, activity picks up. Now, activity has picked up a little bit, but it's slower than a normal season
Much
because
slower.
all those people who would have bought now, they probably bought back when the homes where interest rates were 3%, and me and lenders like Les were at the top of the mountain saying, "Hey, buy, 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 buy." This is crazy right
Hmm.
now as far as these.
Hmm.
So that affected some people. So some of those people who maybe it wasn't their time to actually buy, they kind of got in at that time. So of course they already bought then, so they're not going to buy now. So there are a ton of factors out there, man. Just to wrap this up, man, I guess taking all of these things into consideration, how do you see the future of the Philadelphia metro real estate market?
Yeah, for sure, man. I see the months of supply kind of, if it's not gonna stay steady, it's gonna start to go down, because I don't really see a reason for people to rush to the market to throw up, these properties that they're sitting on, unless there's a situation where, the houses are owned by a bunch of baby boomers and they look to downsize, or they look to go to, like, 55 plus communities or something like that. If that doesn't happen in large numbers, then we're going to continue to be in this kind of cycle of, high prices, high interest rates, demand being high, people being not willing to move forward. And then, like you said, it may be a time where you might want to have to look into the counties or jump states to Delaware or New Jersey. But I'm sure those places are kind of in the same situation as we are here in Philly.
Yeah, man. I see that this really, to me, uh, is a call for investors to come to Philly, buy and hold investors, um,
Hmm.
because there's not enough home supply for individuals, and like I keep saying, there's no room in Philadelphia, so there's no space to have them big culture shacks that you have in Delaware or you have in Jersey. Those
Hmm.
just aren't going up. So it seems like it's a grand opportunity, for investors who want to come in the city, buy and hold, or flip,
Hmm.
because there's not enough houses out there. So since there's not enough houses, the builders aren't coming. We need the investors to come. What you think about that?
Now, I definitely agree. Now, is there a way we can get with like city council, and because I know a lot of these blighted properties are owned by the city. So like didn't they
Right.
have like programs where they were trying to, get these houses away, or you had to do X, Y, and Z to kind of get these properties to, people who actually had the means to rehab, or is that a thing of the past?
Well, they had that land bank. So the
Yeah.
land bank was an attempt for them to do it, but from my research, what it seems like, it became very politicized. I don't know if I'm saying the right word,
Mhm.
but
Politicized, yeah.
There you go. Where these homes were going to contributors to a campaign. See, the thing about Philadelphia, and I don't know who else has this in their city laws, but Philadelphia has where if the city councilman of that area, in reference to real estate, is kind of like they leave the rulemaking to that particular person. So they may bring a bill up. For example, Daryl Clark had brought a bill up, for Strawberry Mansion, as far as something with the decks, or the third floors, or
Mhm.
the rooftop decks,
Mhm.
and he wanted to put a kibosh on it. So he brought it up, but everybody agreed with him because it was his district, and
Gotcha.
this is like a Philadelphia culture thing, where anything that comes up in real estate in that particular person's district, they just go with what that person says.
Mhm.
And of course, they have their reasons for what they do. Um, but sometimes this hinders it, that, and plus the zoning also. Zoning. The last thing I saw, what they were trying to do is they were trying to change the zoning board. So they were trying to make it
Mm.
where you had like engineers on there, you had appraisers on there, and you had all these different people on there. And I was like, how would those people ever agree on anything
Right.
to let
Right.
this zoning go? Even though in a lot of places, and I just read this, that what Philadelphia has is they have a general zoning, and then it has subzones.
Yeah.
So you'll have a general zoning of an area, then there's subzones on top of that that's put on top of the zoning regulation already.
Mhm.
So it's very recondite, it's very block to block. So there's kind of like no uniformity, even though it's all one city, but there's
Yeah.
really no uniformity as far as, so it makes it very complicated. And when the zoning's complicated, or when rules are complicated, you lose out, because it's like people don't want to get involved because it's too complicated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I don't wanna be, the boogeyman is trying to, out to get us and things of that nature. But stuff like these unnecessary hurdles, these unnecessary stepping stones or tripping hazards that, are put into place, and people look the other way like they don't understand, that's somebody else's department, it's not for me to handle. It's like those things put in place are kind of the reason why we are where we are. And I don't think people like you said, if it's someone's district, he like, man, I can't worry about that right now. I got crime that's going through the roof, or I have schools that need to be taken care of. So it's like that may fall down on their priority list. You talk about zoning, like, dude, we'll worry about zoning at the next, council meeting in 2 years. So it's like it's that antiquated thinking, and systems and policies that are kind of keeping Philadelphia where it is as far as the housing market, because rents are crazy. Rent, rents are ridiculous. Actually, it's crazy how these landlords are treating these people who are renting these properties. The properties, a lot of them aren't really even up to code. So it's like they just is throwing you in something they know you don't have a choice, but you got to stay there. So it's like, and they're allowed to do it for the most part. So, yeah, man, just some different laws and policies kind of in place to help this out would definitely make things a little bit more smooth. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
No, not at all, man. And but that plays back to being a homeowner. Because now when you're a homeowner, you have a say versus being
Hmm.
a renter. It's just like renting a car and buying a car. You're gonna slam the door a little bit harder. You're gonna put press the gas a little bit harder.
Right.
You know,
Hmm.
you're gonna do donuts in the street because it's not your car. And
And that's
people will treat
reckless. You reckless. You be reckless in the enterprise. Enterprise just entered the chat, by the way. Enterprise. Enterprise. Next time you go rent a joint, Enterprise pull this tape up like, yo, this boy doing donuts in our whip, man. Check them tires on the way back.
Right, 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 right. But I mean, but people treat the rentals like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not
Yep.
invested in this neighborhood. I'm only
Yep.
here for a short time. But if
Yep.
you own a property, okay, I may go to a
Right.
city meeting or a community meeting. I want to know what's going on with that street light down the street because my
Hmm.
kids got to play on here. So I guess that all that goes back to being a homeowner. You're a homeowner now.
Absolutely.
You're invested in a lot of these areas that we see that are blighted. A lot of these areas where we see crime running rampant. A lot of these areas where we have um, poor schools. A lot of them are renter
Hmm.
areas or Section 8,
Mm.
and you know what I mean? Section 8. So it's
That's a
like
whole nother.
there's
That's a whole nother episode in its own.
right, right, right. But here we're pushing for people to own their home or own
Hmm.
something. So you can take
Something.
something because people don't understand if you look at generational wealth, passing on generational wealth, a lot of times it comes with the home.
Yes.
And there's really and I'm gonna stop here because like you said, this could be a whole nother episode. But a house, for the most part, is the only investment. I'm gonna call it an investment, even though some people may differ. But a home is the only investment where you only have to pay part of it to get control of the whole thing.
Hmm.
And people don't understand that. So that and what you're losing out is you're losing out that equity. And
Hmm.
that's how so many other nationalities, other groups, that's how
Yep.
they help themselves and they help people around them is by using that equity that they have
Absolutely.
in their
Actually,
home more than anything
absolutely.
else.
Because you're able to, because people use the analogy, don't pay your rent, I mean, don't pay your taxes, and watch them take the property. It's like, yeah, but I could have pulled out, you know 100, 150, $200,000. I could have bought two or three more properties that I'm renting out, and I could have did the same thing with those properties, and so on and so forth. Whereas you're renting, you can't pull anything out. So it's definitely a game that we, for some reason, don't want to partake in, or we think um you know it makes more sense to rent like that. I think that's a mindset. I think that's a historical mindset from generation to generation.
Definitely.
And you'll have generations of people who are renters, and that's, they saw their mom do it, they saw their grandmom do it, great grandmom
Right.
do it, cousins, aunties. So it's a mindset. So I try to attack the mind more so than push home ownership. Like, listen, if you understand the game that's being played, and it's all a financial game that we are kind of locked out of, on so many levels. But once you kind of understand the financial game that's being played, you want to be a part of it. Like, it's no
Right,
reason not to be. It's this is one of the easiest games to get in. Like, trying to
right.
learn the stock market overnight is not easy. It's going to take you a long time to really become well versed at the stock market. But you can buy a property, get in there, do some things to it, and next thing you know, the value of your property has just gone up the same way it would a stock. And it doesn't. YouTube can help you for the most part, conquer a lot of those battles. So it's definitely a great vehicle if you use it right and you understand the importance of it.
Big facts, man. Well, listen, let's wrap this up, man. Where can people find you?
Man, you guys can go to my website. It's Affluent, AFFLUENT mortgage, MTG.com, affluentmtg.com. All my information is on there once you guys go in there. And I mean, if you have questions, you wanna talk, you wanna ask me a question, shoot me a text. Call me 856-270-6579. Shoot me a text, let me know, and I'll try to help you out as best I can. Because I think for us, for our people, information is what we're lacking right now. So if I can get the information out, that's really my number one goal.
Oh man, it's Colin Nathan Alim, the real estate boy. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, I got you. All right, y'all. Until next Friday at 9 o'clock, even though we started at 11 o'clock this time.